We've spoken a lot, we have spoken too much about our physical condition recently, and this is absolutely not acceptable, because we are not speaking about it since our draw of Verona only. No, we are speaking about that since a few years, since a few seasons. And at Juventus, we are absolutely aware of it, and we are looking for solutions. The motto at Juve is not on our knees anymore after 3 games in a week. Stop with packed J medical and intensity. We are obliged to increase it. It's not normal to keep the intensity for 20-25 minutes. We need to improve it to towards 90-95 minutes at least. And while Napoli, with the son of Aurelio, vice president of Napoli, Edoardo De Laurentiis, is blaming Statsperform and La Lega about the injury of Buongiorno, Juventus is acting, is anticipating. Juventus is welcoming and introducing a new role, a new name, the name of Darren Burgess. And that's what we'll speak about in today's video. Ciao Juventini of the world, my name is Giuseppe, welcome back on the channel. I hope you're all doing well. You know what makes me the most happy about the name of Darren Burgess? It's not that much the role or the name or who he is, even if it's really high in my list of happiness, but it's actually the fact that I see that Juventus is able to keep a secret. Super important for me. There were no leaks. Nobody knew about it, about the role, about the name. No journalists, no papers, no insiders. Not even me, Beppe. I didn't know anything about it. And when yesterday at 6 p.m. Italian time, it was publicly announced, I said like, brava Juve. For what reason? Because when you see these leaks, well, they can happen intentionally because Juventus has a strategy and they say the name of a player, of a role, or a structure to the media. They do it because they are conscious about it with a reason, or it is because they have some partnerships with media and it's okay to share it, or because there is a problem. And that's a worst case scenario, because when it's not intentional, when it's not approved and you have these kind of leaks, it means that there is a problem with that trust, a broken trust inside of the 4 walls of La Continassa, and that's really a problem. Well, with the fact that I see, and it's not the first time in the Comoli era, that some secrets are able to be kept, I'm extremely proud of Juve, because that means that at today, the management is working like that. When it's confidential, it's confidential. We can trust each other to keep a news inside, so brava Juve for that one. When I was blaming, in a way, Napoli, in a way, because I can understand that they are not happy at all. Well, it's the way of a vice president that goes on Instagram blaming La Lega and Statsport about the fact that it's unacceptable that they are keeping the stat that they have about fitness, about health of players, and sharing them can avoid it. Well, I can understand that. The way off on Instagram is absolutely not okay. I'm super proud of the fact that Juve is actually looking for solutions. Solutions that we already tried a few seasons ago, because let's not speak about the revolution. We already had kind of a man in that position, that is Professore Andreini, that came not to be on the field and direct the training session of fitness part, but that was someone appointed to actually overhaul, to actually check and be there for the 360 degree of the fitness health of Juve. Something didn't work because we didn't see impact or really big improvement in that area, and that's why Comoli is changing, going with the pinnacle of at least what he thinks is the top of the top of the top, and that has a name. He has a name. It's Darren Burgess, 51 years. He's Australian. Yesterday, the first thing that I did after seeing the official announcement of Juve was a posting, welcome Guru, because Guru is the first thing, the first word that I saw on Google to describe the man. And it's a name that came back a lot because I received a lot of messages on Twitter, on Instagram, in DM about Australians that know him really well. What did I read? Yes, indeed, Beppe, he is a guru. He's the best in business. Really beautiful reputation in keeping injuries to an absolute minimum. And when they happen, because in football they happen, well, he gets them back really fast on the field in the next few time. He has been around many Australian rules teams and has had a huge impact at each team that he goes to. Should do the same at Juve. This guy is a beast. Brought so many Australian football teams up in fitness. He will go and work wonders at Juve. These are the first comments that I was reading, which makes me comfortable because it comes from the other part of the world. I didn't know a lot about Darren Burgess before, so I was comfortable. Of course, when we read some inside information from tifosi, we always need to pay attention, especially when it comes from Australians that are, of course, proud of having an Australian name at Juve. So what will he do? He will work closely with Comoli, with Chiellini, with Modesto, with Igor Tudor, but not only for the first team, he will work across all the technical areas at every age group. Super important. What will he do? Promoting excellence in performance, in innovation, and in athlete well-being. So a big job for him. So you don't expect him to be on the field directing the training session. That's not what he will do, but he will oversee everything. 360 degree. Important one. Really important person. The highlights of his career for people that do want to know: injury prevention. And when I hear injury prevention, that's the first thing that I'm extremely happy about. Do you remember last season, for example, where Thiago Motta, that we blamed a lot of time, was looking around, there were only next gen and Primavera players because everyone was at the J Medical. That's really a problem that we must avoid at all cost. Supervision of medical and performance department in fitness, in nutrition, rehabilitation, psychology, recovery for both men and women, and innovation in talent development, etc., etc., etc. What is he doing now? He's working as a consultant for Fifth Pro, but what he did in the past, well, was a lot. We know it. He worked at Arsenal with Arsène Wenger in the last year of Arsène Wenger. He worked at Liverpool together also with Damien Comoli between 2010-2012. So, of course, he is someone that is already known, that has already worked with Damien Comoli back then. It was not the best period of Liverpool, so pay attention in what we do. Of course, he was not coach. Damien Comoli was not the coach of Liverpool. It was not, they were director of sports, or sporting director, and he was actually the one that was overseeing the fitness performances. Now they go with two other roles. Damien Comoli as a general director, and pay attention because tomorrow could be the day where he will be announced like one of, if not the only CEO, but that's a news for later, where the other one will become director of performance. So his career overview. He's an Australian one, I already told you, 51 years old. Stay with me because I'm not just paraphrasing, but I will give you some concrete example of what he did to explain you the man. Well, Australian, he has studied and has a bachelor degree in sports science. He has a PhD in movement analysis in the Australian Catholic University. He worked, as I told you, Liverpool and at Arsenal, but also at Australian football. Australian football, bringing them to the World Cup in 2010. Someone that worked not only in football, but worked at NFL, worked at NBA. Huge experience for Darren Burgess. What are his significant contributions, the highlights of his career? Well, he's one that is working a lot on injury prevention and performance system. That's something that I really love a lot. Applying a lot of scientific methods to reduce injury, improve recovery, fitness, and managing the fitness overload. I love that. I really love that because, of course, this is one of the points that I underline a lot of time. When I told you a few years ago, I don't want Salah, I don't want whatever player, Holland or this or that or whatever player that you want. The first name on my list would be a fantastic magician. You remember how much I put, for example, a Pintus coming to Juve or coming back to Juve, because I think that you cannot play that rhythm, that level, that pace of football of 2025 with all the competition, with all the travels, with every time new competition that are welcomed, like for example the Club World Cup, at that level, if you have not a healthy team, if you don't have some players that are able to play game in, game out, game in, game out. Then, of course, you have the quality of the players, but that's something totally different. But, of course, you start with fundamentals, with base that are the players that are able to be there. Because if you have 25 players and they are all for an entire season at their level, except of course of unfortunate injuries that you cannot prevent, like knocks, for example, like harsh tackles from the opponents. Well, if you are avoiding the muscular injuries, if you are avoiding fatigue, if you are avoiding mental stress, well, we are in a total different dimension, because then you can really fight with the opponents only about one thing. It's the trainings, tactics, the patterns that the coach is putting, the formation, but especially about the qualities. You are better or you're not better, but in fitness you are there. And that's where I refer to the words of Igor Tudor. You remember when he said there is one thing that is not acceptable, is that we are not running. If we are able to run at the same level as the opponent. That's the quality that's making the difference. And that's why I'm extremely happy that we go with a Darren Burgess that should work on that. I told you, injury prevention and performance system is one that is using a lot of technology and data. We spoke about Comoli a lot. So it's one that is able to use GPS tracking, heart rate monitoring, optical tracking, these elevated cameras, the drone. That's something that is implementing since really a lot of time. Departmental and structural change is someone that is able, because he will be director of performance, to do some overhauls like he did, for example, at Arsenal. We changed the total structure where he worked. He's one that is working on talent development and long-term preparation. So it's not looking at, I want immediately next week that our team is there. Going with a mega boost like drinking, I don't know, a Red Bull. It's not sponsored. Don't sponsor. Drink a Red Bull and giving at least what you can for 35 minutes or for 90 minutes for a game and then paying the consequences of it. No, it's middle term, long term, where players are able to keep that consistency for a long time. His style of working, well, data driven. We already spoke about it. Not only with monitoring, not only with track load, but also using the technology at disposal. Not always going for the most expensive one, but looking at what he has around. So it's one that is able to adapt himself. He's one that is actually working a lot at matching match demands. So what he's doing is actually looking at in training session to actually copy what the game can happen or what can happen in a game. Ways of working of Darren Burgess, for example, to give you an example, is that he will never tell what training session he will give to players. Not that he will give the training session, but it's a philosophy that he will be able to transmit with the fitness staff. But he never really reveal what kind of fitness training session the players will do. So they come, they don't know if it will be high intensity, they don't know if it will be a short one, they don't know how long they will be there. So they just go to the training session and we will see. That's a really beautiful one, because in a game you don't know what you can expect. And sometimes he's pushing them extremely to the limit for really long sessions, like for example 100 times running with the bike 100 meters. And not telling them when they will stop. So the players, they are obliged to go. Because sometimes in a game, for example, you don't play 90 minutes, but you are playing 120 minutes. You're explaining or trying to actually emulate what can happen in a game. High intensity, long games without high intensity. So he's trying to actually implement what can happen in a game, which is really, really beautiful because the players never know. He's also working on managing the load and especially the mental recovery. For example, when he was in a club in Europe, he identified that some players that were playing, like, for example, Call of Duty in the night, in the evening, well, they were actually super tired. You don't need a genius to know that. But in the long term, he was able to prove them that because of the heartbeat that was increasing, that was affecting, not that much the fact that they didn't sleep a lot, but the fact that they were actually higher heartbeats than the other ones, that was affecting the performance the day later. So he was managing all these kind of things. People on social media, the mental stress that they can have before a game, because the game is prepared not the day of the game, but already the day before, what you eat, how much you sleep, etc., etc. So he's also paying attention a lot of time on the mental part of it. Communication, super important for him in high management, but also with the players, telling them what he thinks. There was a beautiful example when he said that when he was introduced the first time at Liverpool, when he was working with Steven Gerrard, for example, he was explaining, this is what we will do, that is what I will show you, this is where you will come, etc., etc., where the players were not really trusting him the first time. Okay, we will do it. But after a few months, he was able to gain their trust. Why and how? Because he was part of them. He's not going for, okay, we do it for the club, we do it for this, but showing them with A plus B that is there for them to increase their performance, for them to help them, the individual players that then at the end will work as collective. He's one that is, for example, thinking about the long term. Another example, at Arsenal, for example, when he was working there, before contract renewals of players, especially the older players, he was going with some work to be done on paper, on Excel sheet, showing actually the projection of a player in terms of physical resistance. So for example, in that first year, we'll still be able to achieve that level. In that second year, we will be go down, down, down. So instead of giving him, for example, a 4-year contract, maybe give him a 3-year contract, or maybe it's not the point of giving him a contract, or maybe telling, yes, he's a player that totally deserves it, because we see that there is not that huge big decrease in performances. So try to go for it. It's one that is really able flexibly to work with his mind, because he works in different sports, NFL, NBA. So he's someone that is also able to take the best out of different sports to give them at Juve. What did he say? What are the leaks at the moment that I was able to find online for his appointment at Juve? He said, look, I have always had a passion for the world game, and the scope of this new position is expansive and presents fresh leadership and senior executive level of challenges. We know it. If he would be the one that is succeeding of giving me a team that is able to run for 95 minutes for an entire season and even more, I would be here standing up and not saying bravo to Comoli, to Chiellini, to Igor Tudor, to the players, but I would be there in putting in my top 3 for a fantastic Juve with huge intensity, to say bravo to Darren Burgess, because that's super important. And maybe also going towards a style of play of Tudor with high intensity, maybe matching the other leagues, because we saw it in the top 10 leagues of most intensity at the moment. Serie A is not there. A lot of time we are speaking about a slower league. So if we could be the example, again, another time, like for example, for a stadium, for a Juventus women team, for under 23 team, the next gen that is continue to win, breaking records of start of season. If we can again be in Italy, the first team that is putting these things into practice and playing a fast-paced football, I would be here again saying bravo Comoli. Bravo everyone that decided, but especially bravo to Darren Burgess. And that's what we'll be able to judge in a few seasons. If you enjoyed that video, don't forget to put a maximum of like, continue to subscribe. Grazie, forza, Juve.